And the idea is for this structure to give a map of the musical piece. And I will explain in a moment how it can map musical piece. You see here we have the top node that branches out into 4, and then each of them further branch out into a few nodes. Now the idea is that each of these circles represents a section of the piece, a temporal section of the piece. There is no restriction on how long it can be. And when you see, so they are the gestalts, right? So these circles are the gestalts. When you see it breaks down into 4, it means that it consists of 4 parts. So an improviser needs to decide how they're going to separate the 4 parts. So when we'll be playing, for instance, this part, right? At some point, it will be time to move to the next part. And what does it mean to move to the next part? That's for us to decide on the spot. There's no predetermined rule for that. But now, inside the part, that will also consist of 2 parts. And it's again up to us to decide what does that mean. But obviously, the separation between these 2 should be not as much as the separation between those 2. Because this is a higher order separation. This is a kind of more local separation. One can also color the circles. For example, you can color it in when you want to emphasize that the parts of this are going to contrast each other. So we can make that one colored as well. So these 2 are going to contrast each other. And when we don't color, it means that these parts need to be similar to each other. But what that means also is for us to interpret. They don't have to be identical. So there has to be some similarity. And we can leave this one as well open, which means that these 4 could also be similar to each other. Or maybe we can color it in. Maybe it will be easier to do that so that we don't have to track similarity across the whole thing. It might be more difficult for the first draft. So it's a very open-ended setup. We need to somehow synchronize when we are going to move to the next part. But since this type of improvisation is quite free improvisation, maybe we could try to make it obvious, maybe look at each other or something like that. We can figure it out along the way. And if it ends up that we are in different places, that's fine also. So then each of us will be following this diagram, but we might not be synchronized, so the end result might be something more complicated than what we found here. In fact, even if we all follow this diagram, the end result might still be, in the same time, the end result might still be not quite what we originally saw. And that's also interesting to then compare the starting diagram with the diagram we generate after. So that's the theory.